Hello, it's Brian.
Hey, Brian, it's Eric Bergstrom. How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing, Eric?
I am great. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it should be good.
All right. So, actually, before we get to the camps, I wanted to talk a little bit about your basketball background, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
All right. So, before you played for the Badgers, I saw that in 2003 you played in the McDonald's All-American game with some players some people may have heard of, LeBron James. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, no, ultimately it was a great experience for me to be able to play in the McDonald's All-American game and be a part of it with guys like LeBron James and Chris Paul. Ultimately one of those, once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And, I was very fortunate and very excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I suppose you were. Now, you played for the Badgers after that. You played college ball at the University of Wisconsin. What do you remember most about playing for the Badgers?
Well, I think, and you hear it a lot, but ultimately when you talk about what do you remember the most, you really remember the locker room, you remember the guys, you remember, those sorts of experiences. Obviously, you remember the big wins, and you remember the, I don't want to say the ups and downs, but, some of the tough times, the training, all of that. But ultimately, it really comes down to just remembering those times in the locker room and being with such great guys.
Talk about some of the guys that you did play with on those teams.
Yeah, guys like, Alonzo Tucker and Greg Steensma and sorry about that.
That's all right.
Hold on a second.
All right.
Sorry.
Not a problem at all.
All right. If we have to restart it, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead. We're fine.
Okay.
We're fine.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, guys like, Alonzo Tucker, Greg Steensma, Joe Krabnoff, who's an assistant there. These are all guys that, I've had a chance to play with and be a part of. And, we had a lot of good teams there, which makes it a lot easier, too. So we, one of those situations where, ultimately was a really good opportunity. So.
Yeah, definitely. Now, it must have been pretty cool for you to see the run that the current teams went on the last few years, huh?
Oh, no question about it. I think, when you look at, obviously this year was a little rough, and I'd sit here and lie to you if I said it wasn't.
Right,
but,
right.
When you look at what the Final Four, teams did and how they took advantage of all the opportunities that were in front of them, I think that's ultimately what, you look at and, guys that started building it was our, vision. Obviously, to build a program, it's just not one team that does that. The reason Wisconsin was so consistent for so long is, guys like Kirk Penning and Mike Wilkinson got things going prior to me getting there. And then, we kept it going, for guys like Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker. So, and they've done a good job of giving, this current team, a vision of what needs to be done. And everyone knew that, the struggles of this year were, are only temporary. They know what the expectations are. And, I know Coach Gard and everybody else will, change and get to where it needs to be at.
Now, you talked about behind the scenes, sort of off the court, in the locker room, things like that. That's something you remembered quite a bit. Now, on the court, if you had to pick one, I know it's going to be hard, but what do you think was your best highlight in your college career?
Well, for me, there wasn't a whole bunch of highlights. I'd say.
Come on.
When you look at highlights, what do you think of? High flyers. But me, obviously, I think if you look at the bank shot against Indiana to win the game, there's a couple of big games against Michigan State in there, and then overall, I think when you look at the senior year and what it really was and how it was. And coming to where we did, and then obviously losing in the Sweet 16 to Davidson and Steph Curry, I think that kind of is the big picture of it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You lost to Steph Curry. You played on the court with some pretty good players over your lifetime, huh?
Yeah, it has been. I really have. So I've been very, very fortunate to play, to play this game and be part of a lot of great experiences. So.
Now, you had a lot of great experiences then, but now you're coaching with the Wisconsin Herd the very first season in Oshkosh. I actually went down and checked them out, and they know how to do it right. Wow, I couldn't believe how the crowd was into those games. and how quick and athletic those players were. How do you think the first season went with the Herd in Oshkosh?
Yeah, no, I think the first season was great. As far as the season, the support, everybody that was a part of the Wisconsin Herd's first season. Coach Brady did a great job of getting our guys to a situation where they could come in and play at a high level and produce. And the fan support was fantastic. I don't think you could have asked for anything better for that. So for an inaugural season, I don't think things could have gone any better.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get to your camps now. You're going to be in Menominee on April 29th, I believe, and Stevenson on May 5th. What can the parents and the kids expect from your camps? What kind of things do they learn?
Yeah, ultimately when we, run youth basketball camps, a lot of it, more than a lot of it, almost all of it is skill work and individual drill work, because, they can go and play 5-on-5 and pick up games with their AU teams or, open gyms that coaches have, any of that stuff. But ultimately, the biggest thing is how many kids actually work on their skill and their development. Not much anymore. And I think ultimately when you want to improve your game, it's easy to go and do the fun things. It's easy to go play 5-on-5. Kids do that all the time. But how many kids do you see in the gym working on their individual game to improve? You really don't see that a whole lot. So ultimately, I know what it took me to get to a high level and play at a high level and have success. And a lot of it was just me working on my game by myself and working on the fundamentals. And so with camps, it's how do we work on our pivoting? How do we work on our footwork? How do we make sure that our shot is correct? How do we make sure we pass the basketball? How do we work on our ball handling? You don't need all the flash to be really, really good. A lot of guys that have the flash don't have the other part of the game. You want to be fundamentally sound, and when you're fundamentally sound, you're able to put it all together.
And a lot of what you talk about, too, I saw today you posted something about effort. There's things that you don't need talent to do, right?
Well, exactly. And I think ultimately, when you look at what camp is, knowing how to screen, knowing how to, pass the ball, knowing how to use the proper footwork, that's not talent. That's just effort. That's willing to put the time in, the effort in. And so much of that kind of gets lost in this generation of, well, we want results right now. And the game of basketball is not it's not a job where, in a game where you can just go in, do something for an hour and be really, really good at it. That's not how this game works. So you've got to continually want to and need to put the effort in to be successful. And ultimately, I think when you look at it that way, that's how you see your biggest results.
Definitely. Now, this is for girls and boys. What ages can participate in this?
Yeah, so we've got ages, I want to say it's 4th through 12th in Stevenson.
Okay.
And when we go to Menominee, that's a little bit different. I want to say that's 3rd. I want to say it's 3rd to 12th. We run about 70 camps throughout the state of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota throughout now until about the middle of August. So we've got a lot of camps going on.
Busy
all
guy.
Over. It is, but it's what I love to do,
yeah.
and I love being a part of it and doing it. So I believe those were the grades. Yeah.
No,
and all of it's on our website at www.brianbutchbasketballcamps.com as well. So.
Perfect. I was going to ask that too. Before I let you go, how did you even get into this? How did you transfer to doing something like this?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a long story and funny story. I was so focused on getting to the NBA, and my dream and my focus was always that when I got done playing. And I'd been in Spain, I'd been in Germany, I'd been in Greece, I'd been in China. And then I was in the D League in Bakersfield. So same as what was same league as the Wisconsin Herd, and now it's just called the G League. And we ended up playing really, really well and at a high level, and ended up rupturing my patella tendon. And after I got called up to the Denver Nuggets, so I was in the NBA and I ruptured my patella tendon, and I was out 15 months. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a guy that I can't sit around.
Okay,
I've got to be busy doing something. I've got to have my mind doing something. So after about a couple of months of recovering from my knee and realizing that I wasn't going to play basketball that year, I really just was focused on how can I give back to the game of basketball? How can I help? How can I help where I grew up and the kids where I grew up and all of that? And the one way that I came up with was ultimately to offer a basketball camp and know the way that I wanted it done. I knew what I did to get to that level, and So ultimately it was, all right, we're going to work on fundamentals. We're going to work on all these things to help improve our game and your game individually and make you the best basketball player you can be. Now, 9 years later, we've run camps all over the state of Wisconsin. We're running about 70 camps this summer. So it's really grown, and I think it's grown because we do things the right way and just teach the very basic, fundamental, sound stuff. And obviously there's some more, advanced stuff that we do, and, to the level that each kid can do it. But in the end, you've got to have a solid foundation, and I think that's what we're teaching is the foundation of you've got to make sure you do your drills, your footwork, your shot prep, all these things. They might seem simple, but through the many places that I've been as a professional basketball player for the 10 years that I did it, and now, my first year as a professional basketball coach, when guys are struggling, you go back to the basics, and if the kids don't have the basics, they have nothing to go back to. And that's kind of the focus of what all the camps are.
Now, a lot of the really great coaches in basketball, they say, play the game the right way, and you just mentioned that too. Let's give some credit. Who taught you to play the game the right way? Who do you give credit to throughout your life?
Yeah, ultimately, exactly. When you talk about playing the game the right way, I've had a lot of good youth coaches, a lot of parents that, had older kids and knew how to teach the game. My high school coach, Greg Harches, taught the game the right way, how to approach it. And then obviously a ton of credit goes to Coach Ryan and the vision that he had, not just for me, but all the guys that he coached and the way he approached the game. He really taught what the game was, how to do it the right way. And then I had continued to have a bunch of great coaches at the professional level. So, you take a little bit from everybody. There's too many to give a whole bunch of credit to. So, the main guys would be, Coach Greg Hartis and, Bo Ryan.
All right, perfect. Hey, Brian, I really appreciate it. Thanks again, and I guess we'll see you in about a week or so, okay?
All right, that sounds great. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.